From the very beginning, David was a very passionate music fan and would dig deep into the music. The template for the World Cafe, I think, was really started at MMR, where we had a very liberal mix of musical styles.
I worked at MMR when it was a free-form radio station where we would play Eric Dolphy and harp players and symphonic works and blues and Country Joe and the Fish, and it was all over the place.
This laid the groundwork for the career that David had.
I worked with David at IOQ. We were actually, at one point, co-program directors. When they changed formats then, David came to XPN.
I came to WXPN as a volunteer on Sleepy Hollow, which really appealed to me because I would have a chance to mix music together and not have anybody telling me what to play.
And that was where I was more hyper aware of David as an incredible, I didn't know the word then, tastemaker, curator.
David Dye on the World Cafe. Our featured album of the week is a new one from the Indigo Girls. It's called Rites of Passage. And this is a tune we haven't played yet called Airplane on the World Cafe.
So David's coming over, let people know that it couldn't be all bad, because David Dye wouldn't be associated with something that was going to be sort of inauthentic.
They hired somebody who had a tradition in Philadelphia from years ago, and I think that the World Cafe was just a natural evolution.
Mark first said, let's go to the CPB, let's get some money, let's do a show, start off on 5 or 6 stations and see what kind of success we have.
CPB funded the program. At that point, it was the largest grant that was ever made to a single program. So David became very critical early on as one of the early members of the Brain Trust.
The concept for World Cafe is sort of like a 2-hour prototype of what XPN is. At least 50% of the music is really current music. It's mixed in with a lot of things that we're familiar with, artists we're familiar with, but not necessarily the big hits that we've kind of got burnt on.
We thought we were going to do world music, and that is the reason why the World Cafe is called the World Cafe. But we tested world music, and it tested very badly. But there was this little kind of opening for this new singer-songwriter music.
Welcome to Conversations from the World Cafe. I'm David Dye. We'll hear from British sensation Jamie Cullum. We'll also hear Jim White and Amy Mann together with Static. It is from Jim White's new album. And upcoming guests on the cafe, Adrienne Young and her band Little Sadie as well.
How did you come to write Sadie's song?
Just sort of happened. Oddly enough, always wanted to have a band called Little Sadie way before I ever even worked on this song, whom I wrote. It also just has to do with the sacred feminine thing in the woman listening to her intuition.
He has a way of making the subject of the interview not feel like the subject of an interview. It's more like having a conversation, getting to know what means the most to them.
Another day into the World Cafe studios, and we've been waiting for a while for these folks to join us. It's the Avett Brothers, whose third album, right, Mignonette, is out, and it is a joy all the way through. It's interesting. I try to describe this record to people, and of course I fall all over myself, and you guys must be kind of used to that, because I know you played a lot of bluegrass festivals over the summer, right? But do you consider yourself a bluegrass?
Yeah, it's a very frequently asked question, and we fall over ourselves every single time we try to answer it.
There are so many small to medium markets that are starving for radio like this. that are filled with listeners who are thirsty for this kind of contemporary music.
When I go to one of our station cities around the country and meet with listeners, they're so appreciative to have, just the 2 hours a day, or maybe in some cases 2 hours a week of the World Cafe, because they have nothing else like that and really appreciate this little window into a musical world that they can't get anywhere else.
World Cafe created sort of a whistle-stop touring pattern, because anywhere in the United States that the show was syndicated, there was an audience.
You'll fly away.
One of the great new dimensions that World Cafe gained in moving to the new facility was not only having a quality studio to interview artists and to be able to get the best possible sound in this floating space, but we had this quality room across the hall where artists could perform in front of live audiences.
Kind of strange, the earth is shaking, the clouds are breaking, everything is blue, it was great, 1,000 red birds fly.
The support that the World Cafe has given us over the years, we've appreciated so much. It gives exposure to people outside the mainstream who might be just doing something more off the wall or unique.
If you've been following the career of our guest today, Angelique Kidjo, you know that she did a trilogy of albums tracing the diaspora of music from slaves in the Caribbean, here in the U.S.
For me, it's bringing people back to really where it started. The World Cafe allowed artists like myself and other artists to have a voice, to be heard.
Welcome back to the Campground Stage.
David's a trooper. He's a great ambassador for the station, and as hard as he works and as demanding as his responsibilities with World Cafe are, he's always willing to say yes to go out in the field, to connect with audiences, whatever it takes, and really to move the station ahead.
Hi there, it is 11 past 3 o'clock. I'm David Dye. Bruce Warren is our program director.
I mean, we would be absolutely lost without David. He is an amazing fundraiser, and he has an amazing energy.
And here to tell us about the best of World Cafe, please welcome David Dye. Welcome.
All right, good to be here.
More than 3,000 interviews.
Yeah, and that's an estimate. We had to go back and kind of, how many years has it been? How many days a week? And we figured out it's around 3,000.
How do you prepare for each and every interview with these celebrities?
I try to know the music, and I try to think of some questions, or at least rearrange the questions that other people have asked them a lot. And then I think one of the things people appreciate the most is I do concentrate on the music.
Yeah.
A lot of things with people is about personality. When you talk about the music with them, they really appreciate it.
It's such a music-centric show, and David is so obviously like a music fan and a lover of it. It's a one-of-a-kind thing.
The music is the star. The musician is the star. David's just sort of the guide. I can think of very few people who have the level of confidence, humility, and sort of conversational style. You just feel like you're in on a really awesome conversation.
I usually like to start writing by going away by myself somewhere. I went to a friend's ranch out in West Texas just to sort of stop everything, and usually that means start writing. Dashboard sunshine, driving west, gonna find something I ain't found yet.
You can tell everybody, yeah, you can tell everybody. Go ahead and tell everybody, I'm the man, I'm the man.
David has always been this warm, generous, welcoming, extremely knowledgeable host. He has this real ease with artists that he talks to and connects with, and that creates such a wonderful sort of pathway for the audience also to connect.
It's an active, caring listener that listens to the World Cafe.
Look up, child, the world is bound. Your shoes untied and your soul.
David played Making Love off of my first EP before anyone had ever heard of me. And he's continued to have me on the show throughout my career, and no one owes anything here. I think it's just done out of like connecting with the music.
After a few years of working with David, I went to him and said, what is it that you've wanted to do with this program that you haven't been able to do because there wasn't the money or resources? And he said, hey, I want to go where the artists are playing and see them in their own environments and the impact that those environments have on their work.
During a certain season, like this time of year, it picks up every Sunday. It's 2-3 bands. We get to celebrate New Orleans music, the culture every Sunday for a couple of months. It's an exciting thing. It's one of the things that, to me, is a heartbeat of the city.
To finish up our day with Ani DeFranco, we met up with our World Cafe Travel Adventures tour group at Roots of Music back in the French Quarter. Ani DeFranco is on the board of the after-school program that brings together middle school students from around the city.
Roots of Music, they very consciously are addressing the future of New Orleans music. It's incredible to see kids who have been given nothing in life suddenly become a part of something bigger than themselves, you know, and come every day and become like a part of the cultural life of their city.
David has taken his musical discovery quest around the world, taking us to places like Rio and Havana, Melbourne, Australia, and a particularly memorable trip to Dublin.
Let's go in here actually,
okay.
and I'll try to find you a jacket. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much. Hold on.
That's a nice one. Well, here's a 46.
It's beautiful. This is really nice. Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
You don't necessarily wear them.
Yeah, no, I was good. I'd wear them like you're wearing them.
Yeah, and you might get an extra button put in, and it's like, you know.
Yeah.
That's a gift from me.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Would you like to wear it? Yeah, he wants to wear it. Of course he does.
Yeah, I do want to wear it.
Sure.
Glenn.
It's 59. Okay.
Thank you.
Not a butter.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
We are honored to be here with one of the great singers of our time, one of the great human beings of our time. Will you please welcome Mavis Staples?
If you're ready, well, if you're ready now, yeah, if you're ready, come on and go with me.
When we came to the 20th anniversary of World Cafe, there was a real determination by the XPN programming staff to put on a real good party honoring David and the program and their remarkable achievement. A highlight and really a one-of-a-kind thing was XPN World Cafe favorite Dawes was joined by Mumford & Sons on stage to sing their #1 emerging hit that World Cafe helped to break, When My Time Comes.
For the save, I live less like a workhorse, more like a slave. I thought that one quick moment that was noble or brave would be worth the most of.
It's a true honor every time we're a part of the World Cafe. One thing we've always noticed is whenever we're on tour and we ever do any other radio things, and they will mention other things that we've done, they'll say, you know, we heard you on World Cafe, or we heard your interview with David Dye. And almost every time without fail, that host or that person giving the interview will say, like, he's my hero, like that's who I want to be, like that he's who I base my career on.
Only bring something else.
To a lot of the XPN audience, the fact that David does World Cafe is great, but the thing that they really love him for is that he funks every Friday. And the good news here is that David's going to continue to funk every Friday for a long time to come.
Once you get started, I believe we are fully engaged. Funky Friday.
David's legacy are all the artists you first discovered through his show. And the importance of it should not be underestimated on a national basis. He's taken the Philly vibes and spreading them all over the world.
The best way we can pay tribute to David is for all of us, Bruce Warren, Talia, Kim Janad, Dan Reed, the whole crew, continue to take this program to higher and higher levels, reach wider and wider audiences, discover great new music, and make sure that it keeps its prominence and honors the legacy of great musical discovery and an incredible host.
David, as a fan and as a new colleague, and as somebody who's going to try to keep your incredible legacy alive on behalf of all of us at XPN and World Cafe, I just want to thank you so much for your profound contribution to music. I hope you feel as proud of what you've done in your incredible career as we all feel to be associated with you. And congratulations.
When we first came to Philly, there was a guy by the name of David Dye who was working for WMMR at the time and was just a great supporter of us. And he's not here tonight, but I want to do this song for him because I know he's back in town. He's back on the radio again here in town, isn't he? And I haven't seen him in a while, but this is for David Dye, so somebody tell him that we did this for him, all right? Well, it's still racing out of the trestles, but that blood, it never burned any vines. Now I hear she's got a house up in Fairview, and a style she's trying to maintain.